there. Hey, everybody. Happy Friday morning. Today, we're going to be talking about how to use your corporate structure to protect your real estate, also to keep your profits and to cash flow your interest that you're paying on your loans, and a whole bunch of other things, and how to do it. You know, there's a lot of people that think that incorporation is just really complex. I mean, it kind of is, but it's way better than anything else that we have been doing for, well, since I've been doing since 2007. This also includes your personal residence, and we're going to get into all of that. So let's jump in. I'm going to share my screen here. I think I'm just going to share how best to do it. Oh, I know why it's not working. I'm looking at the right one. Oh, there it is. Boom. Yay. All right. So this is not like you have to do all of these things. This is, to me, what I would classify as a great ecumenical, kind of covers all bases corporate structure. And I go into this in other kinds of videos. I'm not going to go into it now. But what I want to show you about this, you'll notice here, there's LLCs, there's real world, the nasty real world place. Here's us, the little sheeple in our social slave numbers, doing our best to make our W-2 income and have them take it all from us at tax time and have to spend the rest on bills and interest that we cannot write off. There are no write-offs, nothing. So sorry. And then up here, once you get through the LLCs and you have the C corporations, which we're going to talk about, whether or not you want to do a nonprofit, foundations, trusts, and ultimately being able to move your assets offshore in an international business corporation. Today, we're going to be talking about the real world, your social slave number, LLC, and C Corp. And then why we don't, please do not put anything but perhaps your personal residence into a trust. We're going to talk about that. But it sort of looks like this, sort of works like this. In the real world, it is a mean and nasty place, and it will punch you down and keep you there if you let it. And whether it's a lawsuit or the IRS or whatever else is going to come at you, the real world is where it's all going to do so. The more we interact with the real world, the more risk we are, the more at risk we are. And you'll notice these little arrows, the LLCs are all at risk in the world. Why? Because they're the ones doing the business. You're doing business, your LLCs are doing business. What does that mean? Well, in the world of real estate, if you've got a house that you're renting, it's doing business with a rentor. That rentor has certain rights and regulations available to them if they fall down and break their leg in your house, and they can prove that it was your fault, that you were negligent. You have an insurance policy, I pray and trust that you do, but they have the right to sue you above and beyond that insurance policy if they can prove negligence. And I promise you, in 2 seconds in a courtroom, they'll be able to do that, even if you're not. That exposes you, the social slave owner who owns the house, who did what daddy told you to do, which is buy real estate, but daddy didn't know to do this. Daddy did this and got lucky. Maybe not. But put all of his houses in his social slave number and then died and left them all to you. Maybe put them into a trust. But you as a social slave number, if that person sues you and comes after you and wins, you could lose everything. They could take everything from you personally. LLC, that is limited liability company, not corporation. Please don't confuse company and corporation. LLC is limited liability, which means that the folks that are in this LLC are there no matter what happens, unless it's a criminal something, very unlikely, that somebody fell down and broke their leg in the LLC company, only the LLC assets can be accessed. Nothing about over here in your social slave land, not your trust, nothing up here, because they don't have any cause. We're going to show you how to organize this so that if somebody sues you for whatever reason, or somebody wants to take your stuff, even the IRS wants to come take your stuff, and your property is well positioned here in an LLC situation, that not only will you be able to get money from them when they sue you? What? I know it sounds crazy, but that's what we do. Get money from you, take their money if they sue you and win. but make it so unlikely that they'll want to sue you. And even if they did win and give you money, they will only have access to the limited property upon which they perhaps broke their leg. None of the rest. We're going to show you how to do that. But first, let's talk about the differences. A lot of people have properties in their social slave numbers. And the reason I'm doing this video is because I've talked about this for trading. I mean, we've gone over and over this with trading and all kinds of other things, but I've never actually done a video specifically for real estate. And now that we're wholesaling real estate and getting people funding for real estate, this is probably time we do this. I had a friend ask me, what should I do? And they just bought a bunch of properties. And I'm like, ooh, I've never actually said what they probably should do. And now remember this, I'm not an attorney, I'm not an accountant, I'm not a financial advisor, I'm none of those things. I'm just a bald white guy, y'all. So this is how I do it, how I tell everybody to do it. I've run over 100 people through this, and they've had massive success in all manner of things. But here in real estate land, it's of the utmost importance that we know what we're doing. Hey, Maurice, so social slave number, just do it by the numbers. Your income tax, roughly 30%, depending on your state, probably even more. Capital gains, depending on your state, up to 50%. Now, this is actually less over here on the incorporation side. It's actually 21% now. That means that they've lowered the tax for corporates and raised the tax for social slaves. Hopefully you are starting to see which way the deck is taxed. Deck is stacked. How is the deck taxed? That's even better. Everybody is taught to believe that you should own everything, but I'm here to tell you, you want to own nothing and control everything, because controlling everything is not taxable. We are all taxed on gifts. There are no gifts. If you're gifting something to a company, you're doing it wrong. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Standard deduction is all you pretty much get unless you spend a lot of money on religious or nonprofit donations or medical. Almost nobody ever does that far. Every penny you spend for this business, deductible, including every penny you give to your church. Business use of your home is available to you, which is some pretty nice stuff. You get to deduct everything here. You have no loss carry forward on this in this way. You can't take losses and move them forward into years where you have a profit, but you sure can here on the incorporation side. You are ultimately vulnerable. You are a sheep to slaughter with vulnerable lawsuits. You can make yourself invulnerable. I'm going to show you a bit about that. If you hand your stuff down, even if you have a will, it will go through probate, which you never want to do. We don't believe in probate because we don't hand anything down. All we do is change control. Family law controls your assets or other low-level laws. The second highest law in the land, the Uniform Commercial Code, controls your corporate assets. And then you're under federal, county, city, or whatever local municipalities to keep your assets under their laws. Here, you are only ever controlled under one of the sovereign states of the union, which is very powerful. You're fixed in what you can do, and you are nearly completely flexible in what you can do in the corporate side. And then, of course, we know that if you had to do a bankruptcy, you cannot file a Chapter 7. Well, you can, but you no longer can get out of alimony, child support, taxes, or student loans. But here, well, most of those don't apply. You wouldn't have child support with a company. You wouldn't have alimony. You wouldn't have student loans. You would have taxes, and of course, those all go away. Everything here is better than anything here, except for business use of your home. And that's a pretty good one that we don't have here, because companies don't use your companies don't use your home. You do as a living person. A company is dead. That's why we call it a corp. The only reason a company can do anything is because it has living people doing it. But I'm going to show you, I might not have time, but I'm going to hopefully have to show you how to get best of both worlds in this one that's so good. Let me see. Let me jump to a better slide. This one. So what's the real deal? Everybody you know probably has talked about trusts and certainly corporations. That seems very complex. And a lot of people, most people don't do it. They just go to a trust. They go hire an attorney or an accountant. They set them up with a trust. They think that the trust is private. They think that no one knows about it. They think it can't be taxed. They think they can do whatever they want in the trust. And I'm here to tell you that is why most people lose their trusts and get in deep trouble. But let's start over here on the right. You, the person, the social slave, as I like to say, you are federally authorized. You are a corporation, an incorporate human being that has assets. And the federal law, as well as the state, but pretty much the federal, allows you to conduct business so that if for some reason you should harm someone or the state of the union, you are bonded. I'm not going to explain it. You are bonded so that the federal government takes care of your damage, whether it's through insurance, whether it's through paying your debt to society through prison, whatever that is. Your name is in all caps. That's how you know you're a company. And where do we see our name in all caps? All over the place, if it's related to the government. And it's of course attached to a social security number, the social slave number, I like to call it. This is no place to have assets that you want to hand down or protect. Unfortunately, they've set up the system so that to get credit, most of us have credit and only here. So when we buy our house on a loan, yes, sadly, it needs to stay in your social slave number because, it's the bank that authorized your FICO score under your social slave, literally your social slave number credit rating, to give you that loan. So it has to stay here. But I just found out a way, actually, and Maurice, this is probably interesting to you, that you can actually convey your house that you have a loan upon into your company. I figured out how to do that, which is amazing. The next level down or up or sideways, whichever, is your sole proprietor. That means you've got like a DBA, a doing business as, or you just filed a Schedule C. You're just saying, you know what, I have a little side hustle. I have a 9-to-5 W-2 job, but I can do this on my side. I sell lemonade or I do whatever. Again, federally authorized. It's also locally authorized by your city if you do a DBA, where a person can claim a certain amount of benefits that this guy over here has, not by any means all of them, not even close, but gives you the ability to open a fictitious bank account in the name of, your company, Red Duck Lemonade DBA. And then someone can write you a Red Duck Lemonade check and you can deposit it. And that's good. I mean, for those people who want to do that, which we do when we trade, which is important. We probably don't do if we're doing real estate. We can get into that if we have time. But like I said, your home business, whatever you're doing, a lot of people do their Amazon stores this way, which is a huge freaking mistake. But you're basically going to file the Schedule C for profit and loss of your business, and it goes with your social slave 1040 form. This is the one that everybody gets wrong, as far as I'm concerned. Now, there are places for trusts. Absolutely. They're excellent. The elite use them a lot because they have billions and billions of which they can use to defend them if something goes wrong. You do not. So here's the deal. Trusts are common law. Everybody argues with me about that. I'm sorry. A trust, by nature of the fact that I can set one up and not notify the authorities, means it's common law. As long as I keep it common law and don't report it to anybody, it's private. It doesn't have to be taxed. And that's awesome. And so that way, immediately, some of the assets you can put in those things are like, your granddaddy's great, blunderbuss rifle from 1895, your grandma's apron collection from 1910, beautifully, whatever, the quilt or whatever, all that stuff absolutely should go in there. Anything you want to hand down that really doesn't have a fundamental market value or a fair market value worth anything really should go in your trust. There's no reason to put it anywhere else. It's a perfect place for that. It's common law, and it basically means that there are three people involved in every trust: a grantor, someone who releases their ownership of these items into this fictitious trust, a trustee or an executor who manages that hands off, right, at arm's length. They will never own it. They will never possess it. It will always be in the trust, but they make sure that it's okay and safe for the third person, the beneficiaries. Excuse me. So the beneficiaries, those are the people who ultimately, it's whatever time the grantor allows, gets the stuff. But notice, they get it. They own it in the end. Ownership means taxation. Ownership means the ability to be disowned of it and taken from you. No one can take anything from the beneficiaries while it's in the trust. It's really difficult to sue a trust. The only thing you can really do is sue the trustee who may be misappropriating or using the trust. But what happens if you're like, well, that sounds good, I'm going to put a couple Bitcoin in my trust? Well, yes, you can do that. And you're like, well, maybe I'll put a couple 100,000 in the trust and, you know, keep it tax free. That's fine. But how are you going to put that into the trust? Don't you have to use a bank account? Yes. In order to get a sole proprietor or a trust or a corporation, a bank account, what's the very first thing you have to do? What's the first thing they ask for from a bank account to open a bank account? Yep. Your EIN, E-I-E-I-O. Your EIN, no question. To get an EIN, what do you got to do? Register it with the IRS. And once you do that, it is not private. It is taxable. They know about it. They can take it, all of those things. Also, and most importantly, a trust is for holding assets. Now, there are trusts that do different things, like the business trust and all that other stuff. But if you're going to go through the hassle of doing a business, especially you real estate people who are doing rentals, your express purpose for owning that property, it's not for appreciation. Yeah, that'd be nice. It's not for rehabbing because you're not flipping it, right? You're not going to flip that. You're going to rent it. That means that its express purpose, entire purpose, is to make money. It is a business. Could you put that into a trust? Yes. And the trustee could very well manage the trust and the assets that come out of, or the monies that come out of the rental, and manage the rehab and the repairs and the taxes and all that other stuff. It is possible. Is it right? Well, what's the purpose of a trust? Hold assets. Is it to do business? No. Hold assets for beneficiaries. Worse, once you pass, the trustees and the grantors pass, the properties go to the beneficiaries, upon which they are now in their social slave numbers. Unless these people are set up with another trust, which is complex, or another company, the beneficiaries get the property, and now they're involved in taxation of all kinds and having to deal with the business. Also, trusts, most people don't know this, trusts don't last very long. Their half-life is about 25 to 30 years. Yeah. So putting a property whose express purpose is to do business into a trust is a gamble, and the law is not on your side. Because it's common law, anybody can sue you from any jurisdiction: criminal, civil, family, UCC, agricultural. Every level of law can try to come take your property at any angle. It's a bad and indefensible position if somebody wanted to come after you. Could you put a lot of properties in a trust? Yes. Could you have a lot of trusts? Unlimited, of course. Can you have unlimited sole proprietor businesses? Unlimited, as long as they don't lose money 3 years in a row. Then the IRS says it's a hobby. Corporations, their purpose is what? To make profit. Hold assets that are valuable. They're authorized by a sovereign state that allows the members and the managers to conduct security, to create anonymity, get profit, and offer investment opportunities if you're, registered with the SEC in the right way, so that other people can make money. Can we put real estate in corporations and companies? All day long. Some of these examples are, basically the big three that we like to talk about. So this is kind of a breakdown of the 4 general ways that you can put real estate into something. Social slave number, under a simple C, Schedule C, sole proprietor, into a trust, or into a corporation. There are sole proprietor corporations. LLCs can be sole proprietors, but please never, never do it. Don't do that. You might as well have just been over here on your social slave number, because the IRS, unless you have more than one person in your company, the IRS will see your single member LLC as just you. We call it commingling, or being an alter ego. And as an alter ego, just you trying to put money somewhere to avoid taxes, the IRS will blow you up. Here's just a general breakdown of the 4 big kind of stuff we have here, 4 big kind of companies we have here in the United States: C Corp, S Corp, LLP, LLC. Not LLP for all y'all, because for real estate, that's kind of weird, unless you're doing a brokerage, which you're probably not. LLC, limited liability company. Lots of good things about the LLC, a couple of unique things that make it not internationally recognized. It's so unique, in fact, that nobody overseas thinks that they don't recognize it. First issue is that you can have a 1-member minimum, like I just mentioned. Please don't, but you can do that. You have also the ability to change its tax status to any of these other two if you wish, which further confounds international company situations. But an LLC, prior to contrary to popular belief, never pays taxes. Now, I'm not saying you get out of paying taxes, but it never pays taxes because all it really is a tax liability pass-through. It passes through the tax liabilities to the members and the managers. Same with an LLP, same with an S Corp. The C Corp, which is what your accountant does not want you to set up because they A, don't know how to do them, and B, have been told by the IRS that it's double taxation. How dare you? You should not do that. Has no tax liability pass through. It takes care of its own taxes, pays its own taxes. The S Corp and the C Corp are internationally recognized. I'm not going to get into S Corps because please don't do an S Corp in real estate. That's suicide, people. And then, like companies can be incorporated in states in which you do not reside, which can have benefits. Like if you're in California, you have a 10% capital gains tax, but in Tennessee, Nevada, and Wyoming, there ain't no state tax. Pretty dope. Now, unfortunately, in Tennessee, there is a $100 a year tax that they drop on. I just found this out since I'm a resident. But these are the states that I like. Tennessee is great, has an incredibly good Secretary of State. There's no state tax. It's about $300 a year per company. Nobody looks at anything. They basically report, everything that you need to report. They're not too good on the security side. They're going to tell the IRS everything. It's a right to work state, which is great, and is very crypto friendly. Nevada, their Secretary of State's okay. No state tax. It's expensive. It's getting up to about California expense. Nobody cares. IRS comes to Nevada and says, "Hey, we need to see your records." And they're like, "Go away." And they're like, "Well, we'll pull our federal programs." And they're like, "Go ahead. We're rich, y'all. We got gambling money. We're good." They don't report to anybody. They got almost no labor laws, and they're okay with crypto. You want to hide from the law? Nevada. Georgia's great. They've got a pretty good Secretary of State. There is state tax. It's reasonably inexpensive. They don't really report to some. I mean, nobody really looks at these. But the good thing about it is that nobody knows who's in this company. They don't have any requirement to you tell them who's in the company. They've got some pretty stringent labor laws. Crypto okay. And then, of course, you got my personal favorite of all time, which is Wyoming. Killer Secretary of State, zero state tax, the cheapest there is. And that includes, by the way, your resident agent, which you need to have if you're out of state. Nobody looks at anything. They report one person a year. They don't really even have labor laws, and they even have their own coin coming out, by God. These are the states that I don't recommend. Please don't do Texas. Please don't do California. And as much as people talk about Delaware, unless you're a bank, please don't do that. The incorporation process is pretty simple and can be done in a couple of weeks. I mean, we can set you up with an LLC today, actually, with Wyoming. But you incorporate, you get your minutes and bylaws, which are required if you're a multi-member LLC or a C Corp or whatever company. You need to have bylaws and minutes. Then you go do the EIN, which takes about 5 minutes. You issue your shares, you open a bank account, and then you reimburse the founders, the people who personally paid for the Secretary of State filing and all that other stuff. And then create your contracts, which are how you get paid, by the way. You don't get paid as members or managers because that's bad news. That's tax issues. And one of the reasons why the accountants are going to say, don't open up that C Corp because you'll get double taxation. Well, yeah, if you pay the members and managers, but please don't do that. And then you do your business, you build your corporate credit, and you make a lawsuit proof, which hopefully we'll have time to talk about today. I'm giving you this, and some of you are like, okay, but can we get to the real estate part? This is all real interesting, but can we talk about real estate? Yes, we will. One more slide. Everybody who comes to me and talks about wanting to have a corporate structure, or they all say the same thing. I already have something of one form or another. I mean, some people don't. And every one of those people have done one of these, sometimes all of these, wrong. They have a single member company. They've commingled their personal funds. They don't even have a bank account. They've moved their personal items into their company fraudulently. They haven't kept up their requirements of annual requirements with the state. They're in delinquency. They haven't done minutes. They haven't even had a meeting. They're putting minutes in there that you can't really do. They don't even have a transfer ledger. They got sent the transfer ledger and they threw it out because they thought, what a dumb piece of paper that is. They're waiting. They threw away all the letters that the IRS have been trying to send them. And my favorite one is that they perpetually and ongoingly hand over their confidential proprietary corporate information to people whenever they ask, which should never be done. Exactly, Maurice. What is the transfer ledger? It is a state, all 50 states required ledger that was sent to you when you ordered your Amazon pack for the certificates and the stamp and the folder and all that. It's in there. And it is where you register every share certificate that you sent to a member, not just how much it was, not who they were, but also when it was done, to the minute, and also where those certificates physically reside, not at their house if they put it in a safe deposit box. Then it's the bank address. And theoretically, the IRS, or sorry, the state has the right to audit you to make sure those are all correct. Now, they're not going to do that. But if you're doing $1 billion a year, I promise you they will. So that's what a transfer ledger is. Good question. So this is kind of a rundown on the incorporation kind of basics. Obviously, I have a whole program of walking people through all of this, and so that you're not only completely compliant and are squeaky clean, but you also understand how to manage it. And for real estate, there's no place that it's more important. Now let's get to the real estate part. Now that you've been through the what, that's the what it is. Let's talk about a real estate corporate structure. Most of y'all are here. I'm saying Colorado. Let's say you've got some property in Colorado. Here's your home. What are the pros of having a home in your, thank you, Maurice. Maurice says it's the best program. And by the way, you all want to learn how to trade stocks and options, you need to talk to Maurice. It's the best program. Pros, you get equity. Nothing wrong with that. If you have a loan, obviously you know how all that works. The cons are, and these are big cons, no asset protection. Anybody comes to your house and breaks their leg, even if you're not renting, y'all, they can sue you and take your house in court. You're also completely liable to everything that happens in that house. If something happens where a pipe bursts and it causes a flood and it ruins your neighbor's foundation, you got to pay for that, y'all. You personally. And if you can't, they'll sue you and take all of your stuff and nuke your dog. Maybe. We do not do business this way. We do not put our homes, and especially not our rentals, in our social slave numbers. No, no, no. You can see why, because it doesn't change. Although the pros, you get another little circle here that says income. This doesn't change at all. Anything that happens, gone, and they'll come after the rest of your stuff. And unlike the IRS, which cannot take your personal residence, cannot take your personal vehicle, and cannot take your tools of the trade, they are forbidden. An attorney, take it all. You're on the street, living an extended stay America, you know what I mean? Well, please. Now, some of you are like, well, I got a trust, and it's in the trust. Okay. Better. But how many trusts do you have? How many trusts? One per property? Oh, no, they're all in one trust. Huge mistake. Because if they can crack open the trust by finding a way to see that the trustee was doing something wrong, like living, no, Maurice, get it out of there. Same thing, they'll come take your house. IRS won't, but attorney will. I'm going to show you how to do it. See, I haven't done this video before. I'm like, why haven't I done this video? I've done it in little pieces everywhere, but I've never done the whole thing. And like I said, I just found a way to move your property into a company and not have them call the loan due. So the trust is okay, but again, you've got no law in your favor. And while you could put a house in the trust, the minute somebody's got to write you a bank account, a check, where are you taking it? They're going to write you a check. It's going to be ACH or something like that. You got to go to a bank. IRS knows about it. It's not private anymore. You might as well have the maximum tax incentives and the maximum flexibility, the maximum asset protection, which is only afforded by a company. So what do? We buy the home in the name of the LLC. Now, if we didn't put it in the name of the LLC, we can certainly quit claim it to the LLC in 2 seconds and re-register it with the county. Now, please, if you have a house that's worth $500,000 and you quit claim it for $100 into the LLC, you know what's going to happen the next day? All your neighbors are going to come over and burn your house down because you just devalued the neighborhood by 50%. So there is a way, if you are doing that, to have an anonymous registry in most counties so that it registers who owns it, but not what the price was. So that's nice, a little nicer. But look at all that you get. You can make it lawsuit proof. You get corporate credit with that LLC. There's no probate because you're outside of probate law. You can have unlimited members. You can have foreign members own it, and it's manager controlled. The people who are members that might participate, like your kids in it, if you pass, becoming controlling members, they don't even get to vote. Just you. Now, again, you need to have multiple managers. Caveat. Some of you are all like, oh, my husband and I. Yes, unless you're filing joint taxes. Ooh, remember that lie that you heard from your mom and dad? Oh, when you're married, you should file jointly. Huge mistake. Every free benefit that the government gives you has a cost that is greater than the benefit. Whether it's your vaccine, I said it. Whether it's married and filing jointly in that tiny little benefit you get in taxes, or whatever that might be, whether it's your free check that you're getting for being a living, breathing person, for COVID relief. It may not bite you now, but it will in 6 months when the inflation comes at you. You might as well send those back, y'all. Help it. But being married, filing jointly means that you are unable to set up a family LLC on your own. It is systematized to make sure that the poor people can't do this. Now, does that mean you're out of luck? No. Just have your sister join with you and your husband. Now, because again, I'm skipping over. The filing jointly means you're one person in the eyes of the IRS. And if you and your husband file together, you're one person. And if you go make a double member LLC and you're filing jointly, if an IRS audit happens, they'll go, well, it's just you two doing your same old thing. Because tax-wise, you're filing the same person as the same person. So you have to have a third member. But it can be anybody over the age. Well, it could be anybody from any age. I suggest over 21. But your sister, your mom, your brother, your best friend, whatever that is, and they can be a silent partner. You don't even have to deal with paperwork. Help them sign. Anyway, so that's how you get around that. It's not an end of the world thing, but it is not on your own. And of course, it's very, very, very difficult to stop filing jointly once you started. The negatives about an LLC is that there is a tax pass through. That means that the profits that you make from the home are going to pass right through to you, right back onto your 1040. Doesn't sound so good. We talk about sole proprietor lie. Please don't do that. You got to be compliant. Now, I can show you how to do that. It's not too hard, but you got to be compliant. And of course, your LLC, you're not moving the ownership of this property offshore. But you don't live in Colorado, maybe. Or maybe you do, but let's say you don't. You got your property in Colorado. The LLCs that you're filing, that you're moving your properties into, well, they don't have to be, but I strongly suggest they are in the domicile of the property. So if it's in Colorado, you got a Colorado LLC. Don't try to do Tennessee LLC in Colorado house. No. Complex. No reason to, because you can do this. You can have the profits from your Colorado LLC move up to an overarching real estate LLC, let's say in a no tax state like Wyoming or Tennessee. Here, the same thing, right? LLC, just another LLC, same pros and cons, but now it's in a tax-free state. So the profits move out of here. It's owned by the LLC, now in a tax-free state. So if somebody comes and sues you here, they can get this property if they win. Now, what we're going to do is make it lawsuit proof. And very briefly, what lawsuit proofing is this company owns this one, but this company, it needs a little management. We got to have Big Daddy managing the affairs of the LLC. In exchange, the Colorado LLC pays, well, so I'm going to pay the LLC $10,000 a month for management fees. Well, the LLC didn't have that kind of capital. So the Colorado LLC didn't have that kind of capital. So the Wyoming LLC graciously extends to the Colorado LLC a $100,000, maybe $250,000 line of credit. Can it do that? Absolutely. Can a trust do that? Girl, no. Wyoming, yes. LLC extends to the Colorado LLC a line of credit. Does the Colorado LLC ever pay? No. Just goes deeper and deeper into debt. Well, that sounds bad. No. Because the Wyoming LLC now holds a certificate of debt against the Colorado LLC, first in line, first in time, and files that debt every 6 months, updated in the state of Colorado, saying, if they go bad or something happens, we'll seize all their assets. Well, what does that mean? First in line, first in time debt in the Uniform Commercial Code means that whatever happens, if other debts decide to pile on, that first in line, first in time debt gets paid first, which means someone breaks their leg in your Colorado property, wanted to sue you for greater than your liability insurance for another $1 million. They come to their attorney and the attorney goes, yeah, let's sue them. It pulls up your Colorado LLC and almost big red letters, it says UCC lien, $100,000 against this Wyoming company that nobody knows about. Ew, the attorney knows that means that even if they win, the attorney doesn't get anything out of the settlement until the client pays that Wyoming LLC, how much? $100,000, because that's what the Colorado LLC is in debt to the Wyoming LLC for. That was terrible grammar, sorry. That's the beauty of doing this. Can you do it with a trust? Girl. But now no attorney is going to take this case, and unless that person is silly enough to sue you on their own, which if they do, call me, we'll kick their rumps. They ain't going to do it. They got to walk away, settle for the insurance money. That's why you have insurance. Please have insurance. Then, but it's a pass-through. It's still going to pass through to the members. We don't want to have that tax pass through to the members. We want to have it stopped at the corporate level where we can get the maximum deductions, the maximum tax benefit, 20%, maximum. In Wyoming, no state tax. So now the profits from that Colorado LLC, which owns the home, it's renting, yay, it's cash flowing, goes through to a Wyoming LLC, no tax, and then that is owned by a C Corp. C Corps are different than LLCs for many reasons, but the bottom line is the taxes are paid here. Does not get passed through to the members, which is great. We file a single 1120 tax form, no 1040s anywhere in here. No one gets anything unless there's a contract, which I'm not going to have time to go into why that is, but that's the best way to get paid. What is a C? Why else is a C Corp important? C Corps last hundreds of years. Hundreds of years. Think about that. So your C Corp becomes asset holding for you. Now, in that other, shoot, I'll show you this. Sorry, y'all. I got to go back to a different doc to show you this other thing. Look at the C Corp in my diagram. Does the C Corp ever interact with the real world? Nope. So there's no reason for anyone to try to sue the C Corp because they don't have cause. What do? Nothing. So your assets, that 15 Bitcoin you're holding, Maurice, goes here. Not the stuff you're trading. That $1.2 million apartment complex you're holding, that's here. If you're holding it. Now, if it's cash flowing, I'd say put it in your LLC down here and all that thing. But if you're just holding property, hold it here. Yeah, I know it. Don't you? You're not going to fool me, Maurice. I know what you're sitting on over there. Come on. All right. So with this in mind, this probably seeming complex to you. And you're like, well, I don't know if I want to do this. Yeah, but check this out. Some of you all own multiple houses. Well, how many houses? I get this once a week. How many houses should I put in an LLC? Well, how many can you? A lot. Should you? No. One house per LLC, owned by an overarching real estate LLC that handles the profits, that is the buffer between you and the other businesses that you may have in this LLC, all of which pass to the Wyoming C Corp, where taxes and profits are held. So Colorado properties, Tennessee property, Florida, California property. Each one has its own resident LLC, multi-member, not just you and your husband filing jointly, you and your husband and your daughter, you and your husband and your sister, whatever. Each one. Can they all be the same people? Sure. All of these owned by that. Why do we do that? Well, because if somebody was keen enough, and all these are deep in debt to this real estate LLC, if somebody was keen enough to win and sue you and win, they could take this property and come after this. A smart attorney might figure that out and realize that what you're doing. Now, there's not a lot they can do, but I don't want to take any risk of what I'm nest egging up here. For generations, this is how we build generational wealth, y'all. So I'm going to have a real estate LLC so that really all goes badly. The only thing they could do is take assets out of here if they were to punch through one of these corporate structures. They'll never get here. They certainly will never get here. Is this a lot of work? Well, I don't know. Once you learn how to do it once, it's so easy to do it again and again and again. And it'll protect you way more than any structure I know. And you don't need an attorney to do this, y'all. Well, man, that's like $10,000 a company. Yeah, you go to an attorney and you'll have to go to them $600 an hour every time you got a question. No, learn how to do it. That's what I do for a living, or one of the things. I'm passionate, can you tell? Passionate about getting these things handled for trading mainly, which is why I've never done this video this way, but so that you can see. Now, what's this over here? Now, Maurice, this is what you were asking about. Let's say you live in Arizona. You got your single family residence here. Do you put that on your own social slave? No. All the reasons I've discussed. Instead, we do not put it in the real estate business. This is our personal residence that we want to hand down to our kids. Could we put it here? Yeah, of course. But is it really a business? No, it's an asset that we want to hold. Could we sell it? Of course. But for now, we want to hold it. We put it into an Arizona LLC that is owned by the C Corp in the same way these are, but not a part of this. So really bad case situation. The IRS comes in, I mean, you'd really have to mess up bad to have them blow all of this up. You still have your house. It's in an LLC that's separate from the business. Does that make sense? Yeah, I'm trying to make it the easy button. That's right. Hey, welcome to easy button. It's not easy. There are parts, but my whole program is designed to make that happen. Now, what's the other part? The other part is everybody who has any assets need to start moving it offshore as quickly as possible because the dollar will tank. When it does, you need to not be under the eye of Sauron, as I like to say, the IRS. We are working, and still, it's been a while. Biden keeps shuffling the deck every time we think we know that we can count the cards, but I think we've got it handled on how to move the assets offshore. You are not moving your assets offshore from your social slave numbers. You are not moving them offshore from any LLC. Why? Because they don't recognize, no one recognizes LLCs as legitimate corporations. However, your S and your C Corp, you can. So you can create a plan to move profits, not the properties, but the profits from your properties and other assets, other businesses, into your C Corp, from which you create an account with an offshore international business corporation, for which you likely have to have a unique passport, which is available to you American citizens. I know they tell you that it's not, and that's illegal. I'm sorry to tell you, they are lying. It is absolutely legal to have another country's passport in addition to your blue. There's no tax if you get offshore if you do it right. Lawsuit proof. Who the heck's going to sue you in Zimbabwe from California? No one. There's that passport. You can, some of the investment opportunities we are looking for is upwards of 120% a year, where you can take your assets, move them there. And of course, you have unlimited crypto capability, trading and all those kind of things. Yeah, well, that's not going to be a class. That's going to be a freaking program, a whole program where we are going to find that, offer people who have assets to move. An affordable means, a legal means, and a safe means of moving assets over there to not only get it out of the way of the eye of Sauron, but prosper. That is a pretty good return. and also helping the infrastructure of these countries. It's not just, yeah, I'm getting rich, but you're actually helping them build the country up, which is the best thing that we can be doing in other countries, especially some of these third world countries. Stable through, I'm not talking about like, crazy unstable, but like stable countries where they're trying to build. You put a few million into one of these countries building infrastructure, getting paid 120% a year. Why wouldn't you do that? But you can't unless you have some kind of structure. Does it have to look just like this? No, but I hope you're getting the idea of the power. And there's so many things about this that work in your favor. How you word the bylaws, how you can use the 3 laws of the minutes to kind of do whatever you want with your company and get paid. How you maneuver around the tax code, which is all there in plain English. Once you incorporate, we're not even talking about the Augusta rule, where I promise you, this is going to sound like pie in the sky. You guys have heard me say it before. I promise you, you can make $20,000 or more a year, tax exempt, not tax free, tax exempt. The IRS says, please don't send us that you made this money. $20,000 or more a year from having your family come to visit. What? I'm telling you, I've done videos. I show it to you in the code. I'm not making it up. It's in their code. How come no one tells you this? Do they want you to know? Heck no. No way. It's for the elite, y'all. They call it the Augusta rule because it started in the golfing town where all the elites are, Augusta, where every 2 weeks they have a national golf championship and they all leave and rent their houses out and they want to get it tax-free. No problem. We'll just write that into the code. It's about that much of the code. I mean, literally a paragraph and a half. I'm telling you, these are the things that are available to you. Can you do it in a trust? Well, no, no, you cannot. Not available. I'm sorry. So hopefully this has been helpful to you. This is a video that I had, somebody asked me this morning and I was like, ew, I haven't done this video before. Specifically for real estate. No trading. I got bazillions of videos on trading. How you do this to help you with trading. And anything else. But any questions? Let me check Facebook, see how we're doing on the Facebook side. No questions there. Any questions, Maurice? Yeah, thanks for joining. I will reach out if you have any questions. If you want to join up and get through this process, it's not too late. And by the way, it is entirely possible to take the assets that you have yet to convey. Oh man, go search. It's in the DCG page. Go search Augusta rule. I also have videos on the Legacy Ascending page, I think on Augusta rule, where I literally show the code and how you can do it as a social slave, but it's way more lucrative if you have a company. Shoot, I don't remember what I was talking about. Oh well. What was it? I can't remember. Anyhow, so reach out if you want help. I'm happy to steer you in a direction that hopefully is beneficial to you, and that will be great. Thank you for joining, and have a great weekend, y'all. Talk soon.